Hello, welcome to Dungeons on a Dime, our lovely live game Beast Fables, which is using the system Adventures on a Dime, and is part of the Roll20 Spotlight. I've not done an introduction like this before, so I'm just sort of like, hi, hello, how you doing? Oh, so, it's almost as if I've forgotten how to do an introduction. My name is Brian. I use he, him pronouns, and I run Dungeons on a Dime. I am joined today by Ver and Atlanta, my two lovely players, and we've already done two prologue episodes exploring the world of what Beast Fables is, what kind of stories we're going to be telling, and who our characters are going to be as well. We are using the Roll20 website to play this because we've got awesome character sheets, which are live for the Adventures on a Dime system, so you can like roll dice and see what the results are and stuff. And sometimes like even dice roll on the screen. It's really rad. First to introduce themselves is Ver.
Hello, my name is Ver. I use they, them pronouns. Also, I'm looking at this stream now, Brian. I do believe that mine and Atlanta's
Oh, they're in the wrong
little
order, aren't
icons
they?
are mixed around. Yes, because in this game, I am playing Balthazar the Toad, who currently is... My avatar is apparently Pipistrel the Bat.
I've swapped them around.
However...
But, side note,
Yes.
I am totally down for a Freaky Friday episode.
Oh, where we change your bodies.
Yeah.
Just due to strange magics.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In any case, I will be playing Balthazar the Toad in this game. And I am very excited to embark on this journey of little beasts in a very, very big world.
And second is Atlanta. Please say hello.
Hello, I'm Atlanta. I use she, her pronouns. I'm playing Pipistrel the Bat. And I am also exceptionally excited to start this game because I have been thinking about nothing else since we did the prologue last week.
Yes, I have been very excited. So, Beast Fables, if you haven't seen the prologues, is a sort of a Redwall, Mouse Guard inspired story game, or story, using the Adventures on a Dime system. It's super simple. You have an adventurer, such as Pipistrel the Bat, who has three abilities, cunning, vigor, and willpower, and jobs they use to approach problems. They have inventory, so stuff they can use, and things they can pick up, and it's really simple to play. So by playing Beast Fables, we'll hopefully be able to show you how to play Adventures on a Dime, show you that running games, and also playing these games, role-playing games, is super easy, and we'll also tell some really cute, exciting stories. So to set the scene, because I like to play with a mixture of sort of like director, so as if like I was a director for a camera, and then actor, as if I was in the scene itself. I like to kind of mix the kind of the ways I describe things. We'll kind of have the camera, air quotes, like pan over the bramble forest. It is located in a variety of hilly, mountainous, and loch terrain in Scotland. The year is ancient. I don't know if animals have like a concept of time in the same way that humans do. They definitely didn't have Jesus Christ. So there's no like AD or BC. But
I have got an idea for that, but I'll say it
oh
later.
wow. We pan over bramble forest. It's green leaves swaying in the misty July afternoon. It is damp and slowly dribbling with the occasional bit of drizzle. And the camera moves down through the canopy, through birds sitting in the trees and talking to each other, down the trunks towards the river. On this river, we see a large wooden fortress made from driftwood, chomped logs, and tied together with sort of brackish weed ropes. It is huge, and there are many pontoons that kind of spiral out from this large wooden fortress to smaller little bases. very occasionally, the water is disturbed as a little fish swims by, or as a beaver surfaces out of the water wearing a belt of tools and pretty much nothing else other than its thick hide and its big chomping teeth, and it swims off down the river or up the river. Occasionally, it swims under the water, and the camera follows it, going underwater, showing the kind of murky depths, the water flowing, not fast, not slow, but steadily. And we follow the beaver as they swim underneath a wooden wall and up into a large, open, lit cavern in the wooden fortress. And we see many beavers wandering about, and other creatures as well. We see mice, we see rats, we see toads, big and small, running around. We see all sorts of creatures. The camera moves up a wooden staircase along the side of the wooden wall and down a corridor to a ward of injured animals. Some have kind of mud and leaf casts around legs. Some have having like poultices administered to sores and wounds. And we see lying in a soft sort of like leafy bed against or near a window, a bat with a broken wing, looking longingly outside. Pipistrel, could you please describe how you look?
So Pipistrel lying in the bed she's a long-eared brown bat. She has a sort of a pale brown face, probably the same color, sort of brown sugar, a dark brown nose and dark brown ears, sort of dark brown leathery wings, and she's wearing a small sort of a green, almost like a flight suit, sort of very tight fitting over her body, and a little vest embroidered with an oak leaf to symbolize her home city of Odoke. She's got bright, inquisitive yellow eyes, and she's lying in the bed and is fidgeting a little bit with her covers. One of her wings is obviously kind of bandaged and slung as best you can when you have massive bat wings. But the other hand, the free hand, is fidgeting with the duvet cover or the bed cover.
You are anxious to get back out. You have been flying very recently, only the last day or so. Time is a bit difficult. You were knocked out. You were flying on a messenger mission for Odoke. This is your first actual journey far outside of the city's or the trees' walls. And you were delivering messages to the front line of the boar war. See, boars are massive, massive creatures. They can destroy entire hovels and villages just by rooting around for food, sometimes eating the little animals that live, the little beasts that live there. Now, they've been a nuisance before, but this is the first time that hundreds of boars have swarmed the bristle woods. And animals of all kinds have had to band together to deal with them. So there are beavers forming dams, making boggy parts of the forest where the boars can get stuck in. You have larger predators, mysterious hawks, violent wolves, chasing them down while they're harried. And then you have mice with packs of termites coming to clear up the remains. And in the meanwhile, many beasts have been hurt and killed in this very violent conflict. You, Pipistrel, as a messenger bat, were delivering a message when you saw a group of animals in distress. A pack. What did you say? A pack? Like a group of toad knights. Curious to see how you helped. You flew down, and in a kind of unseen moment, a boar managed to smack you into a tree and all went to black. And you've awoken here in this sort of field hospital. A place that you've learned is called Bramble Dam, that sits on the Bramble River. And you are Well, how are you feeling?
A little tired, a little lethargic because it's sort of earlier in the day. The sun is up, so Pip is, or I'm, still sort of coming out of probably what was quite a long, a long bout of being unconscious. But she feels she's safe. She's warm. She's happy for the time being. Contented, but is very much sort of, the more she rouses, the more she is getting a little bit sort of anxious, because while this place feels safe and comfortable, she doesn't know where she is, because the last thing she remembers is seeing the Toad army, seeing the boars, and then everything going black. So a little disoriented.
As Vez said, a group of toads is called a knot, and I think a knot of knights is fantastic. I wouldn't say it's an army. It was a group of maybe 10 or 15 toads in armor, and I think this might be the first time you've seen a toad. They're quite reclusive creatures.
This is definitely the first time that Pip is seeing toads. Definitely.
What did you?
I'd say it's likely you might have thought they're frogs at first.
Yes.
Frogs are more present in the rest of the forest.
Definitely.
What did you?
Pip will have definitely seen frogs before, because Odok is a massive trading town. But toads, as we understand them, very much keep themselves to themselves. And it's one of the reasons why Pip was so interested when she saw them, because she at first thought they were frogs, and then realized that they don't move anything like frogs. So wanted to go and have a closer look, and of course got herself into trouble, as she usually does.
So what do you want to do?
Is there anyone in the hospital with me just now? Is there anyone else in the other beds, or like
so you
not like
look
a nurse,
around.
but someone.
You look around and you see there is a beaver in another bed, and the beds are custom sized. They're constructed out of branches that have been whittled to shape, and then kind of like a weaving of I wouldn't say leaves, more like reeds actually, that are here to what's the word? It's sort of like a camp bed almost, so that it can fit the right animal of any size. So there's a beaver who is missing a tail. A few beds over, that is kind of like rolled away from you and is asleep. Further down, this sort of part of the wing, near another window, is a robin who is sort of roosted in a sort of makeshift nest almost near another window. And there is a nurse beaver going around the ward. I think that they are just finished applying like this sort of, you can smell it from here, so it's quite pungent, a poultice to an open gore wound that a rat has.
Ah, okay.
So who would you like to try and speak to?
Is the beaver looking? Does she look sort of quite busy right now?
The nurse.
The nurse, yeah. Sorry.
Finishing up.
Okay.
You don't necessarily recognize them. In fact, you don't really recognize anybody.
Okay. I think once the nurse is finished tending to the rat, I think Pip will sort of kind of wave her good hand and try and catch her attention. She won't say anything, but she'll try and sort of move.
You wave your wing, and there is like a whole spike of pain up your broken wing. Which wing is broken?
Her right wing.
So there's a spike of pain up your right side, as you, even just the slightest movement irritates the bone. And as you sort of wave, the nurse notices and sort of like, kind of like, I don't know how, I feel like they'd flip-flop. That's how beavers would walk.
Well, they've got quite short legs, because obviously they're built to swim, not really to walk.
So
if she's
Waddle, perhaps?
yeah,
Waddle.
if she's sort of bipedal, then yeah, she probably sort of waddle a little bit like a penguin.
So she sort of waddles over, and immediately says, "Oh, stop your fussing! You'll open it up again." Ugh. Yes. What do you want?
Pip sort of is a bit embarrassed and also, and like is very much sort of still in pain. She's like, I was just wondering, could you tell me where I am, please?
And she gives you a slight look and says, "I didn't. Oh, they didn't say you had a con. Oh, no one's. Oh, so rude. No one's introduced you. Oh, you're safe and sound, dearie. You are in Bramble Dam. It is a beaver." Well, and she kind of looks down and giggles a little bit and says, "Well, it's a fortress that we all live in, and it's on the Bramble River. Do you know what that is?"
I mean, I would say in character, yes, but dear GM, does Pip know where Bramble Dam is?
So it's only a spot you've ever seen on a map. You've never been there. So it's sort of, I'd say, because we haven't talked about like distance and size. So I'd say it's maybe, how big is an acre?
Don't ask me.
I don't know how big an acre would be in. Okay, you know what? Google is that idea.
We can probably measure things in days of travel for like
Oh yeah, that's
like a mouse or a rat, like the kind of
Metric.
average. Yeah.
Instead of miles per hour, could it be like as the crow flies?
It should be.
DPC, days per crow.
Days per crow.
So, from your knowledge of the map, it is, well, it might be maybe a hard night's flight away, but that can still be quite a far distance. You know that there is several peaks and valleys between Odoak and here.
But I know kind of, even though I've never been here, I kind of know roughly on a map. I could place myself on a map.
You could place yourself on a map, but it kind of dawns that you're much further away than you thought you should be. It seems you've been taken away from Odoak to get to this field hospital rather than towards it.
Yeah. I suppose I wouldn't know where I was when I got hit by Boar. Anyway, okay, yeah. So I think Pip thinks sort of for a minute and is thinking about like the map and sort of trying to place herself, and then sort of looks a little bit confused and will also ask the nurses, who brought me here?
Oh, it was the knot of knights, the fourth knot that brought you in. They said that you were hit by a boar. Half of their whole contingent were taken out, so I'm lucky to have survived and that they could have brought you back. But don't worry, we'll be taking good care of you. You seem to have broken your wing, so don't move it. We've only just set it.
Oh, okay. I mean, are any of the knights who brought me here around?
I wouldn't worry about that, dearie. And she sort of tucks you back into bed, and you can smell like it's very like acrid and herbal. Her pores, because she's obviously been like administering this poultice. Just look, you just rest there. You go to sleep, and you know we'll see about that wing tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
And she sort of kind of pats you on the arm, or the good wing even, and says, "We can worry about all the details tomorrow." And she sort of waddles away. And we'll say that the camera moves back from you, Pipistrel, out of the medical wing, down through the spiraling staircase of this large wooden fortress, down through the water, up through another pathway, and into a separate wing, where we see a knot of toads. This ward seems more hastily constructed. There seem to be many... How would toads sleep? Would they do bunk beds? Would they do hollows?
That is a very good question.
Do they have like little sort of like little beds, but like in the
I
ground made
think
of mud?
they have no. I think well, I think these knots of knights when they're traveling, they have like little sleeping bags made out of woven leaves.
Hmm.
And probably they were kind of given this quarters, and they would have brought in leaves and grasses to kind of soften the ground, and then just put their lovely sleeping bags
Maybe like
down there. Because if it was
hammocks?
hastily hammocks,
Sleeping
yes.
hammocks. So you've
Oh
got
my
like
God,
multiple layers going around this sort of curved wooden wall of all these different hammocks. And so if you're not going to be waking up for a while, you go to the furthest hammock. And if you're going to be waking up in like a couple hours for like a shift, then it's going to be, you know,
Yeah.
near the floor hammock.
Yeah. I love it. Yes.
Yes.
And they are like travel like they have these bundles that they carry with. Then they can put it up wherever they need, and sleep in the in the hammock. I love it.
So the camera goes up through the water into this sort of like separate, sort of like it's a mostly empty space that has been co-opted by toads, and we see that there are several different toads here. Some are smaller and younger, their skin brighter and less warty, and they are polishing gleaming plates of iron with wax and oils. There are older, larger toads that are sitting around a like a small divot in the floor on little stools, kind of poking at a little wooden map with pieces on, discussing. And as we turn around the room and we see all of this, we see a single smaller toad, younger, sitting in a hammock. And we pan in on Balthazar. What does Balthazar look like?
Well, I imagine if Balthazar is in a hammock, he currently does not wear his armor. Balthazar, as a toad, is round and friend-shaped, with most of his body is just his barreled chest, and he has stout legs and arms, and a little squished face, with those strange pupils that frogs and toads tend to have, where they are aligned horizontally on his eyes, and a wide mouth that, even when he smiles, always looks a little bit like a grimace. And currently, I suppose, if he's on the hammock, he's probably sitting in the padding that he would have under his armor. And it is blue padding with a few nice embellishments around the sleeves. You would think that Under Armour shouldn't maybe have that much decoration, but the toads seem to decorate it nonetheless.
And Balthazar, you have just returned from a very distressing trip. Well, I say just returned. You returned maybe, you returned yesterday from a very distressing excursion. Your knot of toads, because you are a squire, from Blueberry Pond, a toad city, who's kind of sent out like knots of knights to help with the boar war. In your excursion, you and the knights that you follow were ambushed by boars, who were lost and hungry in the forest. And unfortunately, the knight that you have served for several years now, Lavinia, didn't make it. How is Balthazar feeling?
I think, sad, since Lavinia would have been a considerable mentor figure for him. Beasts, they mourn differently than we as human players would. And I think right now, as Balthazar is just kind of sort of coming to just the acceptance or terms of the fact that Lavinia's gone, and the fact that because his knight is gone, as a squire, he now inherits her legacy. He's probably sitting there and just reminiscing about her and thinking about how much he admired her. And for a generally quite jovial fellow that he usually is, he in this moment when we first meet him, he is a little bit more subdued. Perhaps there is he feels a little bit of the weight of responsibility upon his shoulders that awaits him soon. But he's just kind of having a moment of consideration and pondering. Perhaps he just woke up and he's still kind of, there's a part of him that feels like it was a dream, and he's kind of blinking through to the daylight and trying to just kind of center himself in what is a new reality.
And as you're sort of like, you're looking around and kind of blinking away the bleariness, you see that Limnol, one of the Toad Knights, kind of gets up, notices that you're awake, gets up from the circle of stools and sort of starts to trudge over. Limnol is much larger than you. Limnol's actually one of the older knights. He's probably was the first of his like spawn to really kind of get out of the water. So he's quite big and bulky, similar, like got that big barreled chest. His skin is sort of a dark, mottled, mossy, kind of speckled color. And he trudges over. He's just wearing his padding as well. His squire, Bogart, is polishing his armor. And he comes over and he's holding a very familiar looking mace. And he kind of then gets down almost on one knee. So he's sort of eye level with you in the hammock. And he says, "Oh, Balthy. You all right?"
Balthazar, he would be he wouldn't be lost enough in his thoughts to not be attentive to the fact that Liminal is coming over. And I think that squire part of him would still kind of kick in, and he would get up as the knight approaches, forgetting that, if I understand correctly, he now too is a knight. And he regards Limnol, and it kind like his grimaced face is a little tight-lipped, and he has a moment of kind of like swallows, like he has a dry mouth probably a little bit, and he nods and says, yes, still remembering her.
We all do. Normally we have a celebration and a ceremony for events like this, but we haven't seen this sort of thing for a long time. Do you want to go back to Blueberry Log? I understand if knighthood isn't the thing for you after what we've seen.
At this, Balthazar kind of puffs up a little bit. He was a little sunken, so to say, like a little slouched, but he straightens up, and he says, he looks Limnal in the eyes and says, well, it would absolutely not be fair to the legacy of Lavinia should I just return home now. There's still much to be done. Yes.
I love this voice. I love this.
My
I
heart
warned.
there. Oh my god.
I warned Atlanta and Ryan because Ryan said, "Is there anything I should know?" And I said, "I will warn you. I have a voice/cadence for Balthazar." So here it is, everybody.
Love it.
It's absolutely perfect, and I hope you carry on with it because I love it. Anyway, sorry.
I can't talk as him unless I'm doing that. So.
Yeah. So, toads are not super physically affectionate, but I mean, from what I understand of like the kind of the well-being we've done, but Liminal kind of pats you on the arm and says, "Good lad. Well, I guess not anymore. Here, this is yours." And he kind of awkwardly passes you Lavinia's hammer.
Mm-hmm.
With
And oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
As he just passes the hammer, Balthazar takes it with a reverence, and he and I think he's probably handled it before, obviously, because he would bring the weapon to Lavinia. But in this moment, when he takes it, it feels a little heavier than he remembers. And he looks at it, and I suppose I can describe the hammer.
Go ahead.
As the hammer is a sturdy little toad-sized warhammer. And most notably, the hammer head itself is made out of the mauler, or out of a mauler, out of a large tooth. And Balthazar takes it and kind of weighs it in his hands a little bit, and says, it was a worthy tool in the hands of Lavinia. I will put it to equally good use."
Well, that's what we like to hear. And Liminal kind of awkwardly looks down, and his kind of throat bulges a little bit, and he goes, "Well, you should join us at the circle. We're having reinforcements are coming from Thistle Log, and we need to strategize."
As he says this of joining them at the log, Balthazar kind of also like does that, like his throat does a little like croak almost for a moment, out of like almost this nervousness or surprise, and he says, "But the circle is for yes, of course. As a knight of Blueberry Pond, I will join you in these talks. Yes." And yeah.
I would say you both kind of awkwardly trudge over.
Balthazar isn't particularly awkward, like as in he doesn't register very well if others are awkward.
Okay.
And he kind of puffs up his chest a little bit, and he's going to be much smaller than the older toads, since I think we have discussed in the world building that toads just grow their entire life. So it's very notable who's much younger and who isn't. And even though Balthazar is, for all intents and purposes, an adult, he is...
What I think would be interesting is that this was a warhammer that Lavinia used one-handed. Sort of like a bastard sword, where like you could use it two-handed, but Lavinia used it one-handed. And you are holding it very much with two hands.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I love that.
And it's a very, like, that's where the camera kind of pans away from you as you're sitting down with the circle of these much larger toads from a whole different pod. And they are kind of poking you, seeing that there's a wooden carving of the forest, of the landscape almost, and they're kind of moving things around and discussing. And you're sitting there at a stool that, well, one of the many empty stools now, kind of thinking about this with them, holding this two-handed hammer. And we pan away from that as we see that the squires, not saying anything, are all looking at you. We don't know what their expressions are, but we see the heads are kind of looking towards you. And the camera then pans back down the water, that kind of entrance into the log there, and up through the hallway. But we get sort of like that time-lapse effect, where as we move back into the main keep and towards the kind of the medical ward where Pipistrel is, we see like loads of beavers like super fast, like zip past, and we get the impression that like a week has passed of time.
So I have a very quick question.
Sure.
Or kind of image, or for the imagining. The beavers would be much larger than Pipistrel, right?
Yeah.
They are like...
So like
significantly larger, because
this is a beaver.
Pipistrel is a small baby.
I can draw.
Beautiful. I love it.
That's a beaver, and then like this is a pipistrelle.
This is a pipistrelle.
I'm waiting with beta. Yes.
So
The likeness is perfect. And
Yeah.
then Balthazar would be
like
a little
Balthazar
smaller
is
than-
like
Mm-hmm.
this.
Every drawing, I make him smaller and smaller than Pipistrelle, so...
He's not that small. They kind of. Pip is definitely taller, but to be fair, her ears do add quite
But
considerable.
given a
height.
few years, he could be Lavinia's size of like chonk.
Probably like 2 squares on this little... Yeah,
Mm.
big strong
Chonk.
boy!
Chunky boy.
One day. Can't wait. Sorry, I got really excited for big boy Balthazar.
So I may or may not be drawing them right now, and knowing your wishes there, I have made Balthazar smaller than Pip, and it
Oh,
is
thank you.
it is incredibly wholesome and very
Mm.
sweet. And
Every
also,
drawing, he's gonna be smaller until like he's approximately toad-sized the way he is for a human. So Pipistrelle's holding him in her hands.
yes,
Anyway, so I
Yeah.
do apologize, Brian. I just wanted to kind of
Get some
give the
scaling.
idea of the size of the creatures. Yeah.
Yeah. So we see all sorts of creatures moving through. We see a troop of weasels actually quickly dash through because it's all sped up, right? So we see them like move through once and then not again. We see different beavers come and go, swimming in, swimming out. We see rats with strange mechanisms and wooden cogs constructing something and then going away and then coming back and fixing something and then going away. We see robins arriving through a little open skylight, flying in and then flying out during the day. And then we see bats flying in and then flying out during the night with messages. And as we pan up and we see like everything kind of speed up, we go back to the medical ward. We pan back towards Pipistrelle. And it is day again. A week has passed. Pipistrelle, what have you been up to in the medical ward? What have you been trying to do? We'll start with that.
well, as Pip is a she's quite young. She has a want for adventure, which is why she was so desperate to become a messenger. Like because as much as she loves Odoke as a city and as her hometown, she was excited to leave and see more. She's a good flyer. She's a fast flyer, and she would use that to her advantage all the time. She would spend a lot of time in the air. So this has been a very kind of difficult week for her. She was bedbound for the first couple of days, and then she could. I assume when the nurse would allow it, she was allowed to sort of get up and wander around. But obviously,
I would say
wing is still
the nurse whose name is Iona. Iona Herbrand. Or Herbpaw even. Iona Herbpaw is a very dedicated caretaker. And so you've been trying to get up and stretch and not be in bed all the time. And every time Iona sees you, you hear that like getting closer and closer. And you are quick to jump back in bed. I know it gives you like a mean, but mostly caring look of I'll break your other wing if I see you out of that bed again.
It's a sort of a kind of very sort of motherly matron type of way.
Matronly.
Matronly,
yeah, that's the word.
So Pip is a type to like, this is her first time out of Odoke. She's the same as Balthazar. She is an adult, but she's a very young adult. She is so curious about where she is currently because it's totally new to her. So she is constantly getting up and having a look out the window and watching the beavers work and seeing all the hustle and bustle and stuff. And every time Iona catches her, she kind of scurries back into bed, but smiles in her very sweet way with her big bright eyes, and tries to get out of it, tries to get out of getting into trouble.
I think what would be very interesting is if you were to make a willpower ability roll for me on your character sheet.
First roll of the game.
Yeah, just to see how your relationship has been growing with Iona.
Okay.
So people who are looking at the character sheet, you can set your ability scores, and then you can click on them, and it will roll it for you in the chat, which is really neat. And then it tells you what rules you have to do to play, or how that results. So this is, we're doing an ability roll, we're doing willpower, and we're going to see just how your relationship has grown, really. That's sort of the challenge.
How much do I get away with being
Cheeky.
a little so-and-so? Being a cheeky little so-and-so.
Hijinks!
She breaks your other wing.
Oh my god!
Oh god!
She makes good on that promise. Or
She really does. Oh, Pip, what have you done?
So, Pip, you rolled a 1, a hijinks. Something goes terribly wrong. The narrative describes how things go awry and hijinks may follow. I'm gonna say that, like, the consequence of being caught out of bed too many times is actually you've been moved away from the window.
Oh no!
Window privileges have been revoked.
I've lost my window privileges.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no!
So you miss looking out over this view because you're high up in terms of of the fortress. You're looking out over the river, and you used to be able to see rats working on mechanized dam things and a water wheel for some kind of generative contraption. You've never seen this sort of technology before. You know that in Odoke there are pulley lifts constructed by the rats there to get high up into the treetops, but I mean, you can fly. Why would you need to use one? But you can see them, or you were able to see them working on all sorts of strange things, kind of integrating into the wooden dam that the beavers have on Bramble River. But having now been removed from the window, instead you're closer to the door, and it's almost more tantalizing because you can see through the doorway when you're awake. Because, I mean, you're healing, you're tired, surprisingly tired. You can see occasionally at night a bat messenger flap in through a skylight that's been cut in the top of the fortress. Or like walking past, talking to someone. And you don't recognize any of them. But you know them from the garb that they wear and their flight suits that they are from the Moon Messengers Guild.
Ooh.
And it has been... Oh, I went agonizing, yeah. Because you've got this wing healing, it's been boring as well. So, I guess the real question is, if you were to sneak out of bed, what would you want to try and do?
Oh dear.
Because I know that one of your, you've got a feeling of wanderlust, and you're nosy. So I feel like Pipistrel would sneak out of bed.
She would. I was actually going to ask: has Pip noticed when Iona is sort of like taking a break for 10 minutes, or is there another nurse who comes in when Iona isn't there? So
there are several other nurses in the ward, and Padrig is another nurse. Padrig the Toothed, because surprisingly for a beaver, Padrig has 3 front teeth as opposed to 2. The Toothed, yes, the Toothed. So. What?
Sorry, I said the threeft instead of the tooth.
The throothed. Yes.
He has 3 teeth, not 2. So he's not toothed.
He's threeft.
Threeft. Yeah, so his name is Patrick the Threeft. And he is much more lax looking after the ward. That's when you get up to most of your hijinks, as it might be. Very occasionally, Iona is very dedicated and will come back in to check on things even when it's not, her shift. But currently it is maybe 3 a.m. It's early dawn. You
Prime
are
silly hour time.
Yeah. And Padrick is asleep in the corner.
Oh, he's asleep.
He's asleep. He's actually fallen asleep.
Okay. Deep sleep? Or just like dozing sleep.
How would you check?
Is there anything small on my nightstand? Like any I don't know, if they brought me any food.
There are several empty kind of half acorn shells which used to have sort of like a treated medicinal mixture, which is absolutely vile to drink. but they're empty. They haven't been cleared away yet from
Okay.
the last time you were dosed.
Could I very gently just push one of the empty acorn balls off my nightstand and see if he wakes up?
Make a cunning roll for me.
Can do. No more hijinks, please. Oh, come on!
I
Cursed it.
love it. Hang on, I'm just gonna write this down. Nurse at Bramble. Bramble. Damn. I'm just putting characters in to the persona dramatis. So you roll hijinks. So you go to push the acorns, and you are still getting a hang of maneuvering with just one wing. So it's currently strapped very tightly by Iona to your body to keep it in one position. So you lean to push with the wing, and you slip on your sort of like your elbow joint, and instead you knock everything off of your counter, clatters onto the floor.
Pip.
And one of the rats near you, who is was only recently came in, was very kind of bruised up, but has only been here for a couple days. Kind of rolls over and goes, "Be quiet, I'm sleeping," and then rolls back over. You tentatively look up towards Padring, out like a light.
Oh, he didn't notice
At all.
any of this. Oh,
Yeah.
damn.
If that there's a snot bubble, like.
So, did anyone, aside from the rat who told me to be quiet, did anyone else like stir, or is there anyone else still in the infirmary at this point, or is it just me and the rat?
There are maybe like 10 or 15 other creatures in a ward that could fit 30.
Okay.
No one else seems to have noticed.
Okay. I think before she does anything else, Pip would very quietly whisper to the point that maybe no one else would hear her, and just say "sorry" to the rat.
And you kind of you're like, "Sorry," and the rat goes, "Be quiet," and their tail like whips with annoyance, or like, twitches with annoyance.
Okay. Now that she's sort of she's apologized, she is going to kind of, to the best of her ability, sort of get out of bed, holding her one wing, because I imagine that obviously because she's like 2/3 arm, the way that they will have slung her wing is they probably basically have like taken her right arm and have like strapped it to her chest. With her wing, so her wing isn't like dragging on the floor. Basically.
So actually, to be efficient, they've used like the because it was
They
the
used my
upper
flight suit.
arm that was broken.
Yeah.
So your forearm is being used to brace your upper arm.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
So it's sort of like it's braced and then folded over so that it is in like a comfortable position that would maintain the curve for your flying. And it's strapped tightly and firmly. It's not a cast, but it is like very much there. So you have like the ability to move one of your arms, your wings.
Okay.
So you very gently kind of poke your shorter clawed feet over the edge of the bed. You look around, no one's moving. What would you like to try and do?
So I'm very close to the door. Is the door closed?
No, it's open maybe like a third.
Okay.
You can see out very dimly. There's only a couple lanterns in the hollow that remain lit during the night.
As a bat, would I be able to see slightly better in the dark, even without
no.
lanterns? No. Okay.
Because you would rely on your echolocation.
Oh, you make a good point. Okay. In that case, I want to sort of I want to have a, before I actually go anywhere or do anything, I want to just have a peek my head around the door and see if anyone's in the corridor.
Okay. Make a cunning roll for me.
Oh God. Fuck it. Just everyone, please send me good vibes.
If you get a third hijinks, I will scream. It'll be
please.
amazing.
No, you have to yell success when you roll, because you rolled hijinks or no hijinks last time, so you have to beseech the goodwill of the dice.
Yeah, the roll 20 gods.
Come on, roll 20 gods. Ooh, okay.
You
Complication.
didn't ask for success.
I did not ask for its success.
Wisdom radiates from Balthazar, bubbles up in the water. So,
Yeah, Balthazar with his D4 in cunning.
Forgot he had a D4. Oh,
So,
bless him.
Pipistrel, you rolled a complication, a roll of 3. You barely managed to pull off what you were doing, but not without consequence. The narrator describes how the situation becomes more complicated. You poke your head out of the doorway, and you're able to look over into a larger part of the beaver kind of keep. So you can see over a balcony. There's a sort of a more of a seated area for people to meet and talk. And I'm gonna scribble a little bit actually on the roll 20 if I can find my mouse. So if this is like the infirmary ward that is this sort of like curved shape, this is the seating area with sort of like a spiral staircase that goes down. There's like a little office on the ground floor here, and a tunnel that leads off towards a larger part of the like fortress over this way. So you are here, and you're looking out, and you see that there's some seats underneath the staircase, and that sort of stuff. You've never actually looked out this area here, and you're looking, and you can see that there are a couple nurses sitting there. Some of them are grinding herbs and pastes. One of them is Iona.
Oh no!
And this office here is like the nurse's office.
Okay.
Where they keep like supplies and stuff like that.
So they are. Okay. So remind me where the door is, or where I'm looking at?
So you're looking out here. There's a little arrow.
This is. Ah, I see. Okay.
And yeah, you're looking out to this sort of like office area.
Okay.
And there might be like another ward further over, like another section here.
Would it be possible? Am I allowed to draw actually in roll 20?
Go for it.
Yay! I'm going to draw in. I don't know what color. I'm going to draw in pink. I think if I can. Is this going to work? Yes, it is. So could I, if the nurse's station is sort of here, I imagine that Iona is in there. Could I wander out behind these chairs and try and get like down the stairs that way?
Yes, you could.
Okay.
I would require you to make a cunning roll.
Oh.
Or, well, no. You
Okay.
describe how you're doing it.
Okay. I think having seen that Iona is in the nurse's station, Pip is going to be a little bit more. She's probably going to be a little bit more wary because it's Iona, and she loves Iona, but she's very nice. But like, is also kind of like, if I get caught, she's gonna feed me more of that horrible stuff that I don't want. So I think what she'll do, she is already quite small, and I imagine that this place is sort of built for creatures of bigger and
it's almost
varying
as if,
sizes.
Like in human terms, it's almost as if you're like a toddler exploring a house.
So I feel like if I'm careful, if I sort of flatten my ears down a little bit, like hold them back, not like physically hold them, but like, pull my ears back down, I could scoot behind the chairs and behind the furniture and sort of slip down the staircase, hopefully without Iona spotting me.
Okay. That does sound crafty. I would say that's a cunning roll. It does sound
crafty.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Do you have any skills that you would like to try and tag?
Let me see. Skills.
This is another part of the Adventures on a Dime system. You can get advantage on a roll, so you roll twice and you take the result that you want. If you're able to tag in a skill or a trait that you have. If I, the narrator, think that you have a flaw that is could be detrimental or could make something more difficult for you, I can give you disadvantage, making you roll twice and take the result that I want, which probably could be like a hijinks if it'd be really interesting. And And if you tag a skill and I tag your floor, then you just do a straight roll.
So, with that in mind, one of the skills I have as a messenger is staying alert.
Ooh.
So, which I imagine for everyone listening is probably pretty self-explanatory. I need to be able to know exactly where I'm going and what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So could I use that to say, like, while like I'm being careful, but I'm also doing what I would be doing on a job, which is staying very aware of what Iona and the other nurse are doing.
Yeah, I'd let you roll with advantage.
Yay! So. Oh. Oh god!
That is a real dichotomy. That is a critical success and a hijinks.
Oh, thank God I got to roll with advantage. I would have been
The duality of that.
Oh, no more hijinks for Pip, please.
That was very intense. So I'm going to say with a critical success, you do better than expected. The narrator describes how things go in your favor. I'm going to say that the plan works, and it works really well because, like, the nurses are actively moving around, but because you're small, when they sit on these sort of like woven rocking chairs, the creaking sound and the kind of the nattering that nurses like to have between shifts, they have no idea that you're there, and you're kind of creeping around in the shadows.
Hell yeah.
And you manage to make it out. I'm going to remove the little notes that you made.
Oh yeah, go for it. Sorry.
And draw in another color. You get here. So you're at the sort of doorway. Or I'll say you're a little bit further down. They can't see you. And you are exploring out towards the main keep. So this is the question. What do you want to try and find?
Well, because I'm quite high up. I'm sort of in not like a tower, but like I'm sort of upstairs, which is where the infirmary was. I think Pip would be quite interested to see. I think she'd like to see what is basically just like underneath her, because she's seen what the beavers are working on and stuff from the window. But like I think she would like to see like what's downstairs. I heard like in passing, I imagine as people have been going past the infirmary and stuff, they've been talking about the knots of knights and the Boer War, and I think Pip is sort of interested to see like what's been happening. Like I've been in the infirmary. I want to see. She wants to go downstairs and see like what other things can I discover. She's just excited to see the rest of this building, this area. She's not going to go outside though, because obviously outside at nighttime is dangerous. So.
Oh, whoops, that's the wrong color. So you can see from my very graceful, beautiful, and talented drawing that I'm doing with my mouse, so no hating. Oh my god, I just saw little tiny bat up here.
I was gonna say, it's like, are we gonna acknowledge the little tiny Balthazar?
Yeah.
The bear drew just quietly in the corner.
You are looking out on a much larger balcony of like this kind of curved dome, which is very interesting. And I kind of do like a side view of it. It's sort of like you've got like various domes off the side and pods and stuff like that. And if like the infirmary is where that X is, you've come out sort of here, and you're looking at the large area. There is a skylight here. There's a balcony that goes all the way around. And there are sort of like doorways to other kind of like pods and offices from this wooden fortress, and a staircase at the opposite side that goes down. And what's really interesting, because what did you say you wanted to try and find again?
I think I just wanted, because I've seen the outside. So basically, I want to go downstairs and just see what is underneath the infirmary. See if like, are there knights' barracks? Is there like a war room? I think she just wants to know like, what is this place aside from just a dam?
So I think the most interesting thing that you see is actually a kind of a corridor here that is, because there's only a couple lights that are lighting the way, a couple lanterns for creatures that are awake at night, but would normally be like diurnal creatures. But you see here that there is a lot of light coming from this like north doorway here, and there are lanterns kind of illuminating the whole area.
Okay.
You also see that on the ground floor there seems to be sort of like a clear landing pad area for creatures to land, and then sort of like a smaller wooden office that is constructed. And you see the crest of both the Moon Messenger Guild and the Free Flying Guild, who are the two messenger guilds that compete with each other.
Ooh. I think I think I want to go and check out the messengers. That little office room. That's interesting.
There are a couple creatures walking about. So there seem to be rats going into that north entryway. There's a couple beavers sitting down in like this sort of like larger open area. Maybe there's like a large like this kind of square here that I'm going to fill in. Like this is actually just water, and that's where like beavers kind of swim in and swim out of. And maybe there's like a smaller channel here. This is where we kind of like went into the main chamber and then went down to find Balthazar. So how do you go down to the messenger area?
So those rats and the beaver that are around, how close am I to them? Am I still sort of standing in the corridor looking out?
Oh, you're kind of standing in the corridor looking out.
Okay. I think sort of feeling a little bit more confident having gotten past Iona, and also like I'm not a prisoner here. I'm not, and I'm not sort of. I don't think I'm going to be causing too much trouble. I think Pip's feeling a little bit more confident. Nighttime is her time. I think she sort of would. Obviously not like she's not going to go crashing and banging through this area, like attracting everything. But I think she'll sort of walk with purpose, keeping out of sight, but is going to walk with purpose towards that little office.
So you walk confidently and firmly, and but keeping to the side, and no one seems to stop you. Occasionally, like a beaver gives you a little nod of hello and good morning and stuff like that. And you make your way down to the office, which is lit with a couple small lanterns. And inside you see there is a... Oh, what kind of creature would operate a post office?
Oh, some sort... Oh, sparrows.
But they can't hold like little. They can't put stamps on things. Maybe shrews or something.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking like what kind of beast has like long, fidgety legs, and like mice.
So, I mean, if something a little bit bigger than like a squirrel.
Squirrel.
Like red squirrels.
Oh yes, there is.
Oh my god, red squirrels! Yes,
Yeah.
no, please.
Yes, it's a red squirrel. And it's a red squirrel. They specifically don't go for flying creatures because it's a neutral. There's no conflict of interest.
Yes.
Which is specifically why I'm like, it has to be like small and handy. But there is a red squirrel there who is seems to be kind of chewing on some kind of like twig of bark, and is kind of looking over a set of papers. They're wearing a loose-fitted waistcoat. And have a blanket slung over one shoulder, woven from bits of wild gorse cotton.
Okay.
There is a plate of like half-eaten candied nuts, like further in, and the warm yellow light of like these tiny beeswax candles, tapers, kind of flows out from this kind of postmaster office as you kind of look from the side. What do you want to do?
What is the squirrel sitting at the desk doing? Are they eating the candy nuts? Are they reading? Are they?
They're kind of reading the papers. They seem kind of concentrating on like the kind of like sheaf of papers that they've got in front of them.
Okay. The stuff that has to do with the Messengers Guild, is that like behind them?
It's all around them. Think of it sort of like a cubicle with a roof. And then, like, all the walls of the cubicles are, like, pigeonholes with, like, different messaging tubes in. And then there's, like, a sheaf of papers in the back. And there's some seals and stuff.
Is there anything I can see from from where I'm standing that would have to do with Odok?
You can't necessarily tell.
Okay. Oh, I don't know if I should go and just. I don't want to be cheeky, but like I also don't. I feel like if I don't know. I don't want to like just wander up and be like, "Hey, tell me about this stuff that I have no business knowing about." Oh gosh. I think Pip will again try and stay out of sight. She's not going to go and like pick up stuff or move anything, but I think she wants to just go and have a look at all these sort of, if she can anyway, go and have a look at the sort of pigeonholes and see if there's anything to do with Odok, or anything to do with like stuff that might have been happening in the last like sort of week-ish that she's been in the infirmary.
So, sorry?
Well, it's just like, can I go and have a look at like, the pigeonholes around the squirrel?
Yeah. So you go up, and I'd say make a cunning roll.
Okay.
For me.
This cunning is supposed to be my best. Why am I so scared of rolls?
Do you have anything you can tag?
I think it would be sort of slightly cheating if I did staying alert again. And I don't think being inquisitive is going to really, really help me right now, aside from just, I want to know things. No, I'll do straight roll. Oh, fingers crossed. Oh, yes.
Oh.
9 success. So you sort of, again with that sort of confidence, you walk up and you sort of, not queuing, not to get attention, just sort of standing to the side and looking around, and you see that, well, first of all, because you're doing it to not be distracting, but you look around the large fortress, and it is very significant, this main cavern here. The walls seem to be made from branches and twigs that have been intricately woven together, and you notice that they have feathers kind of packed and in between them as an insulating layer, and that vines are growing around the walls for like further structural integrity. It is a very thick and direct fortress. It's not like a wicker wall where there's like bits of moonlight peeking through. The only natural source of light is the ceiling light, which you can see is, in comparison to the very delicate constructed nature of this large dome, that has been hacked out of the ceiling. The sort of like rough circle. Large enough for a bird to kind of dip in and out of, and a bat to kind of scramble out, to climb their way out of. There's a thin slither of moon that you can see high in the sky through the skylight. And as you look over towards the post office with a success, you see all sorts of tubes. And now that you're closer, you can see that there are a few from Odok. There are others from other cities that we haven't named yet, but we will. But you see there's correspondence from all over the Bristlewood here. And you even get a little look over the shoulder of the squirrel. You're not quite sure, because you're not necessarily totally leaning over and being conspicuous. But you get the idea it's maybe some kind of like report about the Boar War going on.
Really? Behind the desk?
No, that the squirrel is reading.
Oh, that's what she's reading. Oh, I see. Okay.
Imagine that, like, I'm gonna do the finger. So, like, imagine that you're here in this corner, and the squirrel is like in the center, and they're facing this wall. So, like, you're kind of looking over their shoulder, over the desk, but you're not close enough to like get a really good look. You'd have needed to have like a critical success for that.
Okay. But they are reading something to do with
the Boar War.
The Boar War.
Also, quick side note to there. If you want to join the scene with Balthazar going for like a night stroll, you could, but you don't have to.
I'm quite content listening to Pipistrel being a nosy little bat.
Oh gosh.
Cool.
I think it's literally written in her character sheet as nosy.
So Pipistrel, what do you do?
Oh, I want to know what's on that paper. I want to know what's going on, but I don't know. I feel like if I just sort of ask, they'd be like, "Well, what's it to you, strange little invalid?" Is there anything else? If the squirrel is facing the other way, is there anything else on the desk that looks potentially intriguing?
Well, some of it's part and parcel. I mean, intriguing is a relative term. For someone working for the Messengers Guild, a lot of this just looks like the regular stuff you see every day in Odo, but just more local to, it seems to be Bramble Dam. Interestingly enough, a lot of the seals here are larger, just scaled up. Seemingly as if these are seals that would be used by beavers and not by like tree-dwelling mice and squirrels and things like that. I'd say the most interesting thing for your nosiness would be those messaging tubes, especially the ones from Odoak. But I'm not sure. Like, what would interest Pip Estrel?
I think. I mean, actually, what happened to the message that Pip was carrying when she got hit by the boar?
Do you realise you haven't thought about it? You've been so anxious to get out and explore that you haven't thought about the message that you were carrying when you were struck by the boar. I'd say that you're not actually wearing your flight suit right now, because they would have changed you out of it, and you're wearing maybe just sort of like loose-fitting kind of like gown instead, and so that your wing is bound underneath the gown. And you realise that you aren't sure. You're not even sure where your stuff is, like your metal claw, your nettle dust, the kind of the tools you have as a messenger.
Or even just something like my flight suit, which is very important.
You know that they took it off you after the first day to go wash it, but never got brought back. Instead, they brought you these more soft, worn gowns.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, it would feel a bit wrong to sort of try and pinch some of the messages from Odoak just to see what's happening, when obviously these people have been very kind to me and looking after me and everything. But actually, yeah, I would. As a thought, and I imagine that Pip would having a look at all these tubes and all these messages, she would probably wonder, like, wait a minute, that's what I was doing when I got hit by the boar. I was taking a message. I was taking a message to here, wasn't I? To Bramble Dam, to sort of war correspondence, which was important. So I think she'd probably want to know what happened to that message. Did it actually get to the right person? I guess. So I think maybe.
So for our records, who were you taking the message to?
I think for I probably was taking it to whoever was leading the war effort here. So any commanders, any. I
guess it would probably have been. It could be, if you wanted to be, a knight from the Knot of Knights. Or it could be the foreman. Foreman Tierbad Worm Wrangler.
Ooh. Oh gosh. I think if it was coming to the dam, I imagine it was probably for the foreman.
Who you would have just been told was Foreman Worm Wrangler.
Yeah. So yeah, I imagine that was probably where the message was directed. But I suppose. I mean. It doesn't. I don't know if anything's kind of been acting. If anything's been different, I don't know if the message has actually been received or not. Because if Pip was asked to send it, it was probably quite important. Not that she knew what it was, but
And what was the message?
Oh God, do I have to think of that?
I mean, you can also say you just don't know. Because, I mean, this is the thing. We've discussed that, like, you wouldn't necessarily read the messages, but you would be very nosy about when they were being written and what was going on.
Exactly. Well, okay, if it was coming from Odoak, I imagine whoever was the leader of the armed forces from Odoak. I'm not entirely sure who that would be. I'm not sure who, because Odoak is quite a sort of quote unquote multicultural city with lots of different kinds of animals. But my mind is straying towards a badger just because I really love the idea of a big badger general.
Maybe it was a. You know that it was from a badger at the forges under Odoak's roots, but you're not sure what it was about.
Yeah, that would make sense. So Pip being nosy as she is, she would want to know why a badger from the forges at Odog would be sending war correspondence to Bramble Dam. So yeah, I think I think she'd want to know, firstly, where her message is, to make sure that it's safe, and secondly, that it then actually gets to the foreman, to the appropriate person.
Yeah. So what do you do?
I guess I need to go look for my flight suit, my bag, but I don't know where they would be. Is there any kind of anything around that might indicate, not like a lost and found, but like was my stuff taken away to be like cleaned and things? Do you think?
Well, that's what they said. I mean, that's what they said when they took your flight suit, but you weren't sure what the rest of your stuff was. You realise that you've probably been quite out of it for a week or so. But you're looking around, you can't see any like directions or signs. It's a very, almost, now that you're looking, it feels almost very intimidating. It's a huge space and lots of tunnels and kind of scary.
Yeah. Is there anything around me that could indicate like something that might go to a washroom or a storeroom, or
I'd say make a cunning roll at disadvantage.
Oh no!
Unless you can tag something.
What
to
can I
see
tag?
how your investigation for some kind of, storage room goes.
I don't think it's anything I can tag that would be useful. Because again, inquisitive, I think, is just a little bit too general in this situation. And I was unconscious when they brought me in, so I won't know the lay of this place. Okay, I can't think of anything that I can tag.
So make a cunning roll at disadvantage.
Oh no! Ooh, okay. It's not a hijinks, I'll take that.
Did you roll twice?
I did. I got a 3 and a 5.
So a complication. You barely managed to pull it off, but without consequence. So you are looking around, and I'd say, because you're quite straightforward, you might just go up to someone and ask.
Yeah.
So you go up to the nearest beaver and say, excuse me, where's the washroom? For the laundry. And the beaver, looking a little sleepy, was kind of like half asleep on one arm. Seems to be waiting for someone. Goes, it's there. You take a right and go on. It's the second door on the left. And he points towards a passageway that is, I will mark, sort of here-ish, on the bottom floor. And as you look, you see a rather sleepy-looking Padrag at the corridor here, looking out over the large area here. What do you do?
Oh god, if he sees me, he's gonna tell Iona. Is there anything I can hide behind? Can I hide behind the beaver?
Make a cunning roll.
Oh come on, I'm so small. Okay, cunning roll. Ooh. Okay. That's
7.
not bad.
You kind of angle yourself behind where the beaver is kind of sitting and turning over to look at you, and you're sort of like crouching down a little bit and goes, and kind of wakes up and goes, no need to be afraid. Are you okay?
Oh, damn it.
You kind of you notice that Padraig is kind of like walking around the outside, looking around, maybe for you. And you're sort of slowly angling yourself around this beaver as to kind of like keep him in between you and Padraig. You're kind of poking out. What do you do? Beaver's getting suspicious. She's like, what are you doing? Are you okay?
Oh god, you know what? I feel like honesty is the best policy in this situation. I think Pip will sort of like look at the beaver and sort of nod and say, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm hiding from the nurse."
And the beaver gives you a little quizzical look and says,
think Pip would reply, keeping an eye keeping an eye out. I just because I'm not supposed to be out of bed right now. I'm supposed to be resting.
And Padraig is walking more and more round, and you're circling more and more. And the beaver kind of like turns in his seat and goes, oh, "You're not meant to be out of bed. You're meant to be resting. I think you should be. It seems pretty sensible." I mean, I'd be resting if I could. He kind of yawns. He goes, well... Huh? He just doesn't know what to say. He's like...
I think it's sort of... Pip sort of seeing him yawn is like, you would be sleeping right now. This would be your time for rest, but this is typically when I'm my most active.
That's fair. And, he goes, which nurse are you hiding from? And he kind of turns his head and he sees Padraig. And he stands up and he waves.
Oh, god damn it!
What do you do? Like, split second, do you want to do anything? Or you just let him wave at this beaver?
If he's standing up, Pip is just going to sidestep and just stand right behind him.
Uh-huh.
And hope that Patrick doesn't see him.
So you stand right behind the beaver. He goes, hey, Pad! He kind of calls out. And Pad spots him and goes, oh, hey! And he kind of slaps down the staircase and he goes over. And you're kind of petrified with fear. Patrick goes over and goes, bro, how have you been? And they slap tails. And he goes, oh, God, this night shift. Anyway, and he kind of steps to the side and he goes, this one's out of bed.
God damn it!
And Patrick goes, Pip, Ida's going to be so angry if she catches you out of bed.
Oh.
And
Pip's
shrugs
ears
and
are
goes,
right back.
well, this thing, Patrick shrugged, goes, well, end of my shift. Me and Pat get a drink. I'll see you later. And they wander off.
Wait, he's just gonna leave me?
Yep. He just wanders off.
Oh god. Pip is just now standing there, very awkward, ears down.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of not entirely sure how she didn't get into trouble. But if Iona is still upstairs, can I wander to where the other beaver told me the laundry room was?
Yeah. So you
she'll just kind of like, I think she'll sort of, not wanting to get caught, will just kind of quickly run over to the doorway.
So you go into the laundry room and you follow the passage. You go right, and then you go to the second door on the left, and you go into it's not really a laundry room. It's more of like an open air. Like it's got no ceiling, but it's walled, and it's a large, shallow room with water in it. And there are like wash buckets. Well, not wash buckets, actually. They're sort of like woven. What are they called when you rub laundry on them?
Oh, I know the thing you mean. Those
laundry board?
Yeah, washboard. Like they have washboards that are woven into the walls, so you can like scrub something in the water and then kind of scrub it on the wall and then bring it back down, and so it's all like one large washing board / tub with fresh river water kind of seeping in through the walls. There seems to be no one here. There are like lines strung up for things to hang on, and you see that there are sort of like large pigeonholes at the side, and you see there's lots of different kind of like packs of clothes, and you actually spot that your flight suit were very distinctive mossy green amongst many of the more brown and white fabrics that the beavers are wearing, kind of in one of the higher up pigeonholes.
Okay, well at least I know where it is. So if my flight suit is here, is my messenger bag anywhere in sight?
You might have to climb up to see.
Damn, but I'm sort of inhibited.
Isn't that just the most fun?
Yes, it is. Is there anything that I can sort of like push kind of close to the wall that I could climb up and have a look?
I'd say there's a soapbox. Like a box of like suds and various like oils and things that you could sort of try and like push over.
Yeah. Could I use that to try and to stand on and see if I can get close to where my stuff might be?
So I'd say it's a vigor check to push it over.
Okay.
You're at disadvantage because of your broken wing.
Damn it.
Unless you have a skill that you could tag.
I'm very good at packing things. Can I tag that?
You could reorganize the box, but unfortunately, I think it's going to be disadvantage.
Damn. Okay. So vigor at disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, come on!
I love it. Hijinks. I'm going to say that you are pushing this kind of like rough wooden crate over, really putting your back into it, and it hits a hitch, and you're like, come on, and you give it a shove, and as opposed to shifting past maybe this kind of little bit of wood board on the floor, it just topples over. And so the box is in the space for you to climb up and look in the pigeonhole, but all of the soaps and the bottles have just scattered out across the dry portion of this washroom.
Oh, Pip!
With a big clatter.
Oh, did someone hear that?
You don't know.
Oh, I just wanted to see if my bag was up there. Gosh, what do I do now? So is there a utensil in this room that would be used for like beating sort of suds and dirt and stuff out of wet clothes, like a stick?
Yeah, I mean, yes, there are sticks.
Is there any way that I could use one of those sticks to try and like hook my flight suit and just see if my
the box is there for you to climb up. Like, it's in the right place. It's just the hijinks is that all of the stuff has fallen out of it. So you can climb up on the box and you can get and see your...
I will do that then. You're
able to do that. So you climb up onto the box, which easily supports your weight. You look into the nook, and it's a lot deeper than you thought. And you do see that your flight bag is in there. Your flight suit is neatly folded up inside. Your claw and several other... You can look inside your bag, and there are tools there. And there is a tube as well. A message tube.
Okay.
Sealed from Odok.
It's still sealed?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. In that case, that means that the message is still in there and it didn't get delivered. Pip is going to grab her messenger tube. She'll leave the rest of her things for now because she won't need them, but she'll grab the tube.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she is going to... I mean, it's late, but this is important. I think she needs to go and find the foreman.
Okay. And with that sort of determined, like, I need to find the foreman, I think we will pan over towards Balthazar.
Oh.
So...
He's sleeping in his little hammock.
Yay!
Sleeping in his hammock. So I think we'll fast forward a couple hours to when Balthazar would wake up. So I'm going to go and change the music to something a little bit more awake. Finding the track. It is here. I found it, guys.
Nice.
I know what I'm doing. So you wake up to the rhythmic vibration of the water wheel, which has become very familiar to you now. Is that
so very you moving Balthazar up and down?
Yes.
You wake up to like this sort of like this kind of like this that is very low and bassy and kind of rocks. A water wheel has been constructed in the dam wall, turning a bunch of all sorts of strange gears in the larger dam kind of space. And it's close to kind of the outcrop pod that you and the other toads sleep in. The quarters are now completely packed again with toads that you have never met from Thistle Log, a different toad log. Toad Stump, even. That's the name for toad cities. And It is early morning, and you see that it's a free day. There are no excursions planned today. If anything, the Boar War is, as you understand it, almost over. It's been a long, almost 2 years that the war has been going on. But it seems like with the summer really truly rung in, that they're finally leaving, and so all of the squires have been left to go and play and explore and have fun, while the knights do maintenance and catch up on stuff and talk really. When the thistle log knot arrived, many of the knights, Limnol and Lazarus and the others, all kind of were like going over and saying hello and ribbiting at each other and having a good old croak. And you kind of looked around, or you were looking around on this kind of free day, as all these knights are kind of being really jovial, and seeing that a lot of the squires are kind of grabbing like, you know, sticks and balls and stuff to go and play, and they look over and they go to invite you and then hesitate and turn away and run out, and then jump in the little water tunnel that they swim through to get out into the forest. So you're at your bed, and you're seeing that there are all these knights kind of like croaking away and saying, back when I was a tadpole, and blah, 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 that toads do.
Yeah, that's how they sound.
Yeah. What do you do?
Because Balthazar is now a knight, he will not shy away from his responsibilities, and he doesn't feel particularly, these squires not inviting him to their free time. It doesn't bother him because, well, he doesn't have time to play. He has to go and do knightly things.
What knightly things does Balthazar think he has to do?
He has not met many of the toads from Thistle Log, but all these toads are his cousins. So it would be good to go and converse with them and introduce himself and speak with them about the great valor of Blueberry Pond and what they have been doing here, and he's going to flex that chivalrous etiquette that he has been learning from Lavinia.
Okay. So, how do you approach and flex the etiquette?
Well, I think he puffs up a little bit to be just a little bigger. He's going to walk up to where Limnol, the knight Limnol, is speaking with some of the toads from Thistle Log, as this is a familiar face, and maybe Limnol can introduce him to these fine folk, to these fine cousins.
Yeah, so you straight up. I'd say, to set the tone of the scene, make a willpower roll for me.
Can I tag my knightly etiquette, or chivalrous etiquette, where I approach with all due bonanza? That's a 1, and that's a... Okay, cool, so that's a 9.
So, yeah, 9. You're feeling confident, and you have, like... I think Lavinia had just started rehearsing on how knights talk to knights, because you'd very much gotten down, like, the squire and, you know, the knight relationship, and... Now Lavinia's like, well, one day you're going to be a knight, and you're going to be, you know, bantering with the lads. So this is how we go. And so you have the sort of the toad bounce appropriate. And you
I know how to like croak in the right timbre, where it's really impressive.
And I think that's how like toads they enter the conversation, you know, and it's like, Brian has entered the chat. Like, that's how toads, they croak to enter the chat without saying anything.
Yeah. It's like, I'm present, this conversation is interesting to me, I'm here now.
So you go in and you make the sort of the, croak.
Yeah.
And,
just a Minecraft villager.
Yeah. So you make that noise, and the toads, because they can croak and talk at the same time, the other toads are like respond, and they'll go ha ha ha.
Yeah.
And Liminal is, they're kind of, generally speaking, a couple of them are chewing on some kind of like breakfast fruits that have been gathered from the forest nearby. And Liminal seems to be talking with a couple of knights from the Thistle Log knot. They seem to be talking about what will happen after the Boar War.
Oh.
So Liminal is like, oh, well, you know, I'll be escorting all of the squires back to the Blueberry Pond, and sorry, I just saw the most amazing message in the chat, which is totally lads, which deserves a shout out. But yes, so he's like, oh, I'll be taking the squires back to the Blueberry Log, and well, I do believe that one of the younger Sprogs are ready to go to the mating log, and
Frogs?
Toads. Sorry.
Okay.
I said Sprog. I said Sprog, not frog.
Sprog. Apologies.
Yes.
I didn't know that word. Sorry.
I feel like toads would use it as an affectionate way of referring to like young toads that aren't
lads.
tadpoles.
Yeah. Sprogs. Yeah. Like it. Yeah.
And then some of the other toads are one of the two toads that Liminal is speaking to say, oh, well, we need to be cutting back the blackberry canes, and well, it's going to be a lot of work, and we don't have time to spare other people to be going around, especially with everyone we've lost over the year.
At this, when he says that, Balthazar deflates just a little bit, but then very quickly inflates again in his stance. And he's going to croak up and kind of join the conversation. Sorry, because this other knight was saying that. Gosh, can you kind of remind me that last line that he was saying?
The other knight was saying that the knights from Toad from the Thorny Log would be
Thistle
looking.
Log? Or Thorny Log? Sorry.
Thorny Log. I think it's Thorny Log.
Okay, I wrote down Thistle Log.
Probably Thistle Log. I think it's the Thistle Woods, and this is the Bramble Dam, and they're from Thorny Log.
Okay.
I was on a big spiky theme when I was writing all these names.
Yeah.
I will diversify my literature.
Right.
Yes, but he was saying they need to cut back the blackberry canes, and that will be a lot of work. So they won't be sparing anyone to go to the mating log this year.
Okay. To the mating, not meeting log. Meeting.
Well, let's call it meeting, the meeting log, which is where like a lot of the toads go to socialize and
make tadpoles.
Make tadpoles and also like catch up. It's like a
yeah.
It's where the what are they called? We had a really cool name for them. It's where the Toad Council live as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and then he mentioned about people being lost. And so I think Balthazar would kind of, after that moment of like, oh, pain in the heart, he's going to ask, so what is this knight's name? Did I catch that or not?
You didn't.
I didn't. Okay, so he's just gonna call him cousin because they're both knights. Yeah, and he says, do tell me, cousin from Thorny Log, what garrison has the Thorny Log not been stationed in to accrue such terrible losses?
Oh, hello, cousin. He kind of replies. I feel like they're all really just warty old English guys now. And he kind of croaks a greeting, and he kind of turns and says, "Oh, I've not seen your face before. We were garrisoned over near the." This is where Brian struggles for a name. Where are they garrisoned? Throw me a name.
They were garrisoned next to Tall Birchwood.
Tall Birchwood.
it's a little thicket of birches that grows in the forest, or the birchwood circle.
Birchwood Circle, I like that because it's a Birchwood Circle, and it's a collection of more like militaristic towers. So the birch grows in like clusters, and then they have platforms that are woven at different levels in these clusters, and as it spreads out, the clusters get larger and larger. We were stationed at the Birchwood Circle, and as you know, it was a very large point of contention near the outer edges of the Bristlewoods towards the locks, and it was not too far from the Thorny Log, but I'll be honest, I wish it were further, so the reinforcements were more spaced out. It's very easy to lose very large numbers in a short amount of time.
Balthazar croaks an agreement to that, having had, lost quite a number of his knot in a very short amount of time. And he says, well, if your knot has now joined us here in Bramble Dam, I presume that some of the boar activity must have come to a halt around the edges of the great forest.
Yes, we were informed of your loss. I will remember Lavinia very fondly. She was a sturdy woman.
Balthazar nods and says, she's definitely worthy of much great reminiscence. I would agree, yes.
Truly. By the way, you must be the Squire Balthazar, am I correct?
Balthazar once again kind of like puffs up a little bit, and says, "Indeed, Balthazar of Blueberry Pond, now a knight of Blueberry Pond."
Yes. Well, this is Quincy, and I'm Quibble, and he kind of points, kind of motions to the other knight that is kind of in the conversation. And Quibble continues and says, "Well, I shall be speaking with some of the other knights and organising how we'll be dealing with the Blackberry Canes when we return. Hopefully, if the reports are correct, this should all be over by the next day or so. Which is a little strange to say, as it's been going on for so long. What shall you be getting up to?"
Balthazar considers the question and says, "Well, as a knight of Blueberry Pond, whatever it is that my stump will require of me, I will of course attend to with great haste and
Liminal
valor."
gives a kind of a croaky laugh and kind of looks over your head towards Quibble as well. He is enthusiastic, if a little fresh, a little wet behind the. Do toads have ears? Like wet behind
they
the
have like
stumps?
ear holes.
Yeah.
Could be something like still has a wet tail.
Yeah, or still.
Like I've only barely just lost my tail.
Yeah.
Aww.
A little wet from the pond.
Yeah.
But I feel that we'll probably be patrolling further and further from the Bramble Dam, and then making our way home, I suspect. We'll see what the orders say. Though I feel, yes.
Balthazar kind of being like put down. He isn't necessarily himself taken aback. He's like, well, I am a knight. I may be wet around the ears, but I am worthy of this title. So he's not necessarily like, in any way visibly shook by just being having shade thrown at him by this other dude.
So I feel like it's not necessarily shade in the sense of it's
more
like
it's like kind of like friendly ribbing.
Yes, like
Friendly
your response is, I shall respond with valor and courage, and they're like, okay, yes.
That would have been just good if they were like, okay.
That's more
Sure,
like the vibe.
Balthazar.
Yeah, that's more like the response, but it's also friendly ribbing in the sense of, oh, well, he's still fresh, but he's got a lot of energy, hasn't he?
Yeah. Balthazar kind of it puffs up and says well, fresh as I may be, I aspire to do well by Lavinia's legacy and story, and perhaps one day be a figure of a similar esteem among my fellow knights.
Well, it is Quincy who says this in a much higher pitch. Quincy goes, well, if I might be so bold to ask, what is one of your favourite memories of Lavinia? I, unfortunately, never met the woman, though as Quibble tells me, she was fine in combat and valorous to lead.
Balthazar kind of closes his eyes for a little bit and croaks in like the whatever equivalent of like a cat purring would be for a toad, like a very he's like
I feel like purring is the right word.
Yeah, something like that, like a croaky purr, and he says, well, where do I begin? I have many favorite memories of Lavinia. Though the freshest one in my memory is I see it now like I saw it the same day. One of the boars was charging through the underbrush, and our knot was stationed on a rotten stump of a tree. We were right on top of it, and right as the behemoth, ran through, like a one creature stampede, Lavinia, not being even a frog, she took a mighty leap, and landed on the thing's back, and our entire knot was so invigorated by this incredible sight. All of us jumped ahead as well. Admittedly, some of us did not fall on the boar, but on the ground. But nonetheless, it was a moment of such heroism that you hear, like in stories. And I could see her just holding onto the bristly back of this behemoth, her hammer raised high in the air, and cajoling everyone to continue pressing the attack.
I'd say you're in touch with your emotions. You're speaking passionately. Make a willpower roll for me, and you have advantage because you're kind of knightly valor tale.
Okay.
Just to see how the story goes down.
Yeah.
Success.
Fiver.
Yeah. Nat 5.
Yeah, nat 5. Well,
yeah.
it would be a nat 12 because my critical is a 12, so
yeah.
This is just a 5.
Yeah. So you roll a 5. Success. You do as well as you can. That describes how successful you are. So you aren't used to reminiscing about other toads, mostly because being very young, a lot of the toads that you know are still alive, and the war's been going on for a while now. But you've been mostly sequestered away at Bramble Dam, keeping the peace more than out on the front lines. But as the boars pushed forward, they came to Bramble Dam, and you and Lavinia answered the call. A wave of emotion kind of tingles over your warty skin, but you manage to hold your composure and speak with valor and honor. And
Yes.
in response, the other toads kind of let out hearty kind of croaks, loud, ripeting, throaty croaks, and the others, like a cheer, kind of it rises up in other conversations and then kind of fades down again. And you feel kind of a warmth of acceptance.
And I think just Balthazar kind of like he's quite himself riveted by the tale, kind of remembering it, and then
Would you say riveted?
Riveted, yes. He is riveted with the tale. That's what it's called when that like echo of croaks goes. It's called that everybody's riveted by a tale.
Yeah.
When they kind of react in like this little chain way of just like getting hype about things. So he himself is riveted, and he kind of like simmers down a little bit after recollecting this, and says, to be a toad like Lavinia, I mean, hearing that, you must understand why I would aspire to be like her. But I suppose, for such incredible heroics are preceded usually by incredible disaster, as this war was. So now that I think about it,
And as you start to say, as I think about it, Limnor kind of pats you on the back with the big toad paw, and says, "Oh, there, disaster or no, we have valuable memories to keep of Lavinia and Lazarus and the others. This is not a tragedy. We have won the day."
I think Balthazar will perk up again, and say, "Indeed, it was. If it was not for her valor then, or last when she stood in battle, we would not be here to regale each other with these tales. And it was certainly for everything that she had done. The sacrifice or necessary was entirely worth it. Yes."
So I'd say the morning continues with you kind of talking with the other Toad Knights. At some point, there's a splash and a beaver whoosh, comes out from the main water tunnel and kind of on all fours scrambles over. Run is the wrong word, and scramble implies haste. Sort of just kind of lopes over towards to Limnal, and they kind of step aside a second and speak, and then they both disappear back into the tunnel. Kind of glossing over the conversation, what sort of things would you want to talk to the knights about?
Well, if Limnal's gone, I think, and Balthazar has managed to get some like goodwill with Quincy and Quibble.
You're in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm in. Yeah. I think he just kind of he's gonna feel a lot more like it's not like he wasn't at ease. He's a very confident little boy. But he's just kind of going to continue speaking with them and trying to kind of get more information about, or I guess continue talking about how the war is coming to a stop, and how things are going to go back to normal. And some part of him, and as he's talking, he has Lavinia's warhammer on him, and once again, as he's talking about things going back, that hammer feels just a little heavy on his shoulders.
Make a willpower roll for me, because I feel like you're making genuine conversation. You're not trying to connive for rumors.
Oh, he's not conniving.
You're not looking for rumors.
Has a D4 in cunning, described as foolish. He's incapable of any form of subterfuge or skullduggery.
And I also feel like you're not bulldozing your way through the conversation. You're not like making an effort. You're making nice, good conversation. So a willpower
he's
roll.
a good boy. Does my chivalrous etiquette still count here for getting in with the lads?
I feel like you've gotten in good with the lads.
Okay.
If you could describe another way that you're using it, I would let you tag it, but otherwise it would be a straight roll.
So let's see. I would like to take advantage of it. So I think
build the world for me. What does chivalrous etiquette look like when you're catching up?
I think he's going to be using more of those kind of passive croaks, where sometimes like instead of going or like it's a secondary language that's on top of the spoken language, and he's going to be like navigating using it thoughtfully or in a charming manner, where he's like first to pick up the ribbiting, as he does revel in the reminiscence of other people's friends or people who have passed, and also being, I think some part of him like trying to not get ahead of him, and just being actually kind of considerate in his use of the ribbiting and using this knightly secondary language of the toads. That count?
So yeah, that would count.
Yeah,
I'd say like as a general rule, I like building and description and excitement. So you can tag a skill for similar sorts of roles, but I want you to build the world for me, just like that.
Hell yeah. Okay. So, it ended up being 2 of the same roles, which is
double sevens.
Can I clarify something quickly?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, just quickly out of character. So in situations like that we've just experienced, we are allowed to tag the same thing twice, but only if we like explain it well.
Yeah, if you're finding new uses for it.
New uses. Okay, that's fine. That I could have done that earlier with Pip, but I should have done. Never mind.
Well, we're all exploring and having fun and learning, so it's all good.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
We were kind of doing this with the Red Knight game as well, but it wasn't as explicit. But yeah
that's
just
fair,
like
that's fair.
have fun and be cool with it. You got to find a way to describe, because as the rules say, you got to find a way of tagging and describing how you're using a skill. So yeah.
Sweet. Cool. Carry on.
Yes. Though I will say, like, I'm not like a total like rule hog. Like, if it's cool, then you might get to use it multiple times and it just makes sense. Like if you had a skill and
like reading maps, there's only so many ways you can read maps.
Yeah, or just like describe how you're reading the map, and that can be really cool. Or like if you had a ring that gave you like turn invisible, and you're like, I walk past these people, can I have advantage because I'm invisible? It's not like, oh well, you stop being invisible even though the ring lets you. Like you're still invisible, just have advantage. Like it's all dependent. But yes.
Yeah, so Balthazar flexes those chivalrous croaks.
I'm actually going to say that like you actually get another croak going in response to someone else's story.
Yeah, it's like it's like that, like the wave on football stadiums.
Yeah. Yeah, so you start like another like ribbit actually.
Yeah, ribbiting.
It was a croaking good tale.
The puns will just never end in this game.
Yeah, I'm actually going to turn it into Pun Fables. That's the new
Pun Fables.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So, you start another croak, and you kind of get a broader understanding of the world that was more closed off to you when you were still just a little toadstool squire. As opposed to fetching armor and polishing, talking with the big knights. Now you're learning that the Boar War's over. But there are larger powers in the Bristle Forest that are in an interesting position. You hear, for the first time, you realise you've had quite an isolated life, living at Ruby Pond.
Not at all. I got all the education I needed.
Well, this is maybe a realization that you're kind of denying fervently, but there are many other logs out there, and between those logs there are many other creatures as well. And you're hearing for the first time about the Council of Hides, a force you'd not heard of, but apparently had a very influential effect on this Boar War. They seem to be a formal alliance of many different guilds in the forest and societies as well, and they even have a large army called the Tusk Legion. And much of the talk that the knights are talking about right now is how the toads will fit into the Tusk Legion, if maybe the other logs will join the Tusk Legion and the Legion will stay on even though the war is ending, and maybe if the Legion will settle and make sort of like a large city or even a connection of cities, how that might affect things.
I think Balthazar... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I think Balthazar would actually kind of raise the question of all of this Tusk Legion is here for the time of the wars, then why should the toads not return to our stumps and continue life as it was? I don't know why we should. Well, of course, it's always wonderful to help the other noble beasts of the forest, but the war is over, is it not? Is there truly still need for such a extensive force?
And Quincy, I think, kind of rallies to what you're saying. Says, yes, well, I'm not one for large centralized powers. I remember tales. Or does Quincy have a high-pitched voice? Quincy has a high-pitched voice, sorry. Oh, I'm not one to agree with centralized powers. I remember a tale from my four toads that said once we all lived as one large log. In fact, a toad tree. A large hollowed-out structure which has since been long lost to the eons, and Well, clearly that wasn't well for us, as now we live in logs and separate societies. I think we work very well with us in lots of little places where we can spread out and enjoy, and then coming together only for the tadpoles. I agree with you, Balthazar.
Yeah, I think Balthazar is less than like centralized toads. Is just like, well, the war's over, so there's like everybody can go home and have a good time and farm slugs.
Not just like centralized toads, but he was the analogy of like if there's lots and lots of beasts in one place, that might not be a good thing. So maybe everyone just go home and farm slugs or whatever they farm.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't be farming slugs.
No, like other,
best.
No,
all
creatures should farm slugs.
Yeah, Balthazar's just like, why would you farm anything? Why would you have any other livestock than slugs? That's strange.
Yeah.
So yeah, he kind of ponders this, and says, I think as almost like a parting sentiment for the scene. I think he just thinks, well, I suppose if everybody came together for this great conflict, hopefully the bonds of valor and friendship forged in battle will be enough to carry them into times of peace as well. And they can remain working with each other quite well after all of this is over.
And Quibble agrees, says, here, I wholly agree with your sentiment.
Here. Yes. Just imagine the other toads like croaking, like a here, like the actual noise of the croak is like a here.
Yeah.
My
God. Atlantis. Yeah. Sorry.
No, honestly, no. Seriously, I'm enjoying this so much. Just a round of applause for the toads and just being generally just the absolute cutest thing. They are great.
You I'd say like some conversation happens onwards, but it's mostly kind of like small talk and what about this and have you tried this in your jam and stuff like that. And
I feel kind of his, unless there's more, I feel kind of his scene is ending here with the
it is. And it isn't. You hear a splash behind you. As Limnal resurfaces from the main tunnel and kind of waddles over and says, cousin. He kind of, almost as if he was going to call you squire, and then pauses and says, cousin, I believe it is a good idea for you to come with me up to the foreman's office. In fact, the foreman's requested you. I don't want to order you about.
Balthazar puffs up a little bit as the foreman himself. Of course, he would want to speak with. Balthazar doesn't know why, but of course he's a knight. So he kind of stands up straight, a little blueberry boy as he is, and says, "Of course, let's make haste," and we'll follow.
So do you speak at all with Limnal as you go up to the
foreman's office? I think if the journey is
let's say it's maybe 10-15 minutes.
Okay.
And
so
he's not initiating conversation, he's just sort of quietly waddling ahead of you.
Well, Balthazar will catch up to be side to side with him. We are knights after all. Yeah. It's not like I'm a squire and having to walk behind you. And he will say, "Pray tell, cousin, do you know what this request of the foreman's is? What does he wish of me?"
Yes. I should brief you, shouldn't I? It is requested that a knight of the knot be sent to escort another beast through the forest to a city that is some leagues away. And I believed, having conversed with the foreman, that perhaps you might be fair for the task.
Balthazar once again kind of like croaks, puffs like a little bit, like the whatever it's called, I forget. I guess just the throat kind of puffs up a little bit.
I was going
to
say thorax, but you don't have one of those.
I probably don't. But yeah, Oh God, yeah, God, for a
Yeah.
second I thought thyroid.
Oh
And
yeah,
actually,
you
yeah,
have a
beasts have a
thyroid.
thyroid. Yeah, probably
Yeah.
have a thyroid. Thorax is what bugs have. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
keep mixing up words.
Keep saying. I'm gonna Google it.
Yeah, he kind of just like croaks a little bit, kind of lifting his head, just puffing up a little bit, and says, "Oh, of course, that sounds like a most important task. I would be happy to carry it out. Do you know what beast it is that I will be escorting?"
I do believe it is going to be a bat, a winged creature.
Oh,
Um,
how very strange. Why is the bat walking on the ground with me? I thought or am I being expected to fly?
No, fellow.
Sorry.
He laughs a little bit at the joke. I honestly,
Balthazar was asking in earnest. That was not a joke.
I'm looking at like anatomy diagrams and I actually cannot find if there's like a croak pouch, which is a shame.
Croak pouch.
But yeah.
That's where you hold your croaks.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm ruining the scene. I'm not here right now, but I'm losing my mind, and it's the best.
So, Limnol kind of turns his I didn't say his head, his body, really. Gonna to like walk sideways alongside you and says, "Well, no, you shan't be flying. Do you remember that fateful night a week or more ago, when we returned with that poor bat that broke its wing, when Limnol and Latharus and the others gave their lives?"
How could I ever forget that night? But yes, the poor creature. It was quite knocked out cold. The poor thing. Boar got it. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Well,
they are fine.
They are an envoy of the Messengers Guild, the Moon Messengers, and well, I, as one of the knights of Blueberry Pond, I do feel that we are a bit removed. We don't have any guilds in our glorious stump, and you can see here that in this watery fortress that there are many messengers and beasts all working together, and so, well, I believe maybe it would be good to connect to the outer world somewhat, to the forest at large, and this poor beast requires an escort walking back towards the city of Odok. I have been told it is a very tall oak tree with many creatures, a city, as they say, to rival any of our stumps, and
Oh, surely it is not greater than a toad stump.
well, you know what they say about a stump. It is but the ground floor of a tree, and quite literally, I do believe Odok is as if several stumps were stacked atop each other.
Balthazar just kind of gives like a gulping croak. Just like
Can you gulp and croak at the same time? Maybe it's like a hiccup.
Can do it independently. I think it's. I don't know though. I don't know much that much about amphibian biology. In any case, it's like a It's just like a you know like a kind of like
Maybe like a hiccup.
Yeah, like do I have to time?
Yeah.
Yeah. A little trumpet noise.
Yeah, and to that, Limnor responds and says, "Well, we'll explain more, and I will not be one to assume for you, but I feel maybe it would be good to roam and establish yourself as a knight and return with valorous tales for Blueberry Pond."
Balthazar this kind of perks up and says, "Of course, I would be most honored to not only bring the tales of Blueberry Pond out to the greater forest, but also bring back new tales for us all to retell and perhaps to one day reminisce."
Yes, here.
Here.
And I'd say with that, the camera zooms past you at great speed up a flight of stairs and up a tunnel to the foreman's office, where we have Pipistrel sitting with bandage off, your wing on bone partially healed, but it's very sore and tentative. Sitting rather awkwardly on a chair in front of the foreman with the nurse, Iona, in the other chair, looking at you reproachfully, but not angrily. And the foreman, a very large, grey-whiskered beaver, the foreman worm wrangler, leans forward on his wooden oak desk and he says, "Oh, well, I do believe this has been a very large error. Walk me through it, Iona, how this has happened." And Iona turns and says, "Well, it has been a very tiring endeavour to care for this bat. But Pip, it has been a pleasure, if nothing else, to have you around. Though I have to acknowledge your tenacity to see your duty through and deliver your message. I do feel that, well, you should be the one to read the missive. It is from your parents, after all." And in your hands, Pip, you cradle the unopened message that you have retrieved from the pigeonhole. As it has been explained to you by Iona, who caught you shortly afterwards, that is not a message that you carried. It was instead a message that we had been given to you the next day when you were to be discharged. It is from your parents wishing you well. Or it is from your parents. You don't know the contents. No, the message that you carried at the time was delivered that same night to the foreman. But your tenacity of getting to the foreman loudly, "I have a message," has led to this conversation now. You had to sit briefly outside the office, were brought in, the situation explained, sat outside again. You saw a beaver and a toad stride into the office. Then the toad left, and the beaver then left, and then Iona came in, and then you there, and here you are now. And with it all recounted in front of you, the beaver says, "Well, would you like to open the missive, or would you like to wait for another time?"
I think Pip would very sort of eagerly say, "Oh no, I would love to open the message now."
"Oh, well, have at." And
Okay.
you crack open the small case and you take out the thin birch paper, and it's a really kind of heartfelt message from your dad. He's very caring for you, and it's full of his mannerisms and all of the weird phrases he says and his strange scratchy handwriting. And it's mostly them saying that they just hope you're okay and that they haven't heard from you and they're very worried. But they've been told by the guild that you're at Bramble Dam, that they're keen for you to come home, and that the guild wants to know that you're okay as well. And yes. How do you feel about that?
I think Pip she's really touched that her parents obviously are concerned about her, because when she realized that she'd been sort of I don't know how long she'd actually been knocked out for. I don't know if it was a couple of hours or a day or however long it was. But this will have been the longest time that she's ever been away from home, away from Odok at all. So she's touched that her parents are concerned for her. She wants to send them a message back just to say that she's okay, but she can't fly, so she won't be home for a while. But in a way, she's also and she does love her parents, but she's also sort of well, I'm fine and I'm safe, and it's not like I got picked up by by one of the terrible gangs or anything. I'm just here and I'm exploring and I'm having fun. So she's sort of maybe
you compose the message in your mind and go, "I should probably send that." And as you
she's happy.
As you've read over the message and you're thinking about it, Iona seems to be packaging together some various bits and bobs. You're wearing your wingsuit, your flight suit, and Iona has your bag and seems to be kind of patting some things into it. And as you look up from the letter, you see the same toad you'd seen before, Limnal, stride in with a much smaller toad, probably the same size as you. And they walk into the office, and Limnal gives a sort of a squat. I think that's the equivalent of a toad bow.
A squat?
Because they can't really bend over, so he's just squats.
No, I think they have working waists in this form if they're walking on two legs.
But I like the idea that the bows are quite stiff and they don't do anything with their arms. Their arms are to their size. They just go dip, and they stand back up again.
Yeah.
I also feel because toads have eyes that can look around all the time, it's not the power isn't about making yourself not look at someone to expose a weakness, which is what bowing's about. It's as a sign of respect. It's about making yourself smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So he he widens.
He widens.
He squats and widens. The mass just.
Oh my god! Yes, I love it.
He goes, Foreman, I have brought finest and newest recruit Balthazar to meet with the bat. And he goes, fair bat. I hope you have recovered well.
Pip isn't used to being addressed as such, so she's sort of taken aback, sort of slightly not in a rude way, just it sort of narrows her eyes a little bit. It's thank you. She looks a bit confused.
Balthazar will toad squat to the foreman, and then turn to Pip, and I think follow up off of what Limnal said, and say, it is very good to see that you have made a fine recovery. It was our not that you had descended to that unfortunate evening when you had been struck by the boar, and indeed it is good to see you all well, in one piece for the most part. He says, I guess inclining towards your bandaged arm. And he's going to then stand up straight and says, I am Balthazar of Blueberry Pond, at your service.
Pip is sort of she's already really taken with Balthazar. So she's just oh my gosh, this guy is adorable. So she slides off the chair, which by the way I imagine is the size for a beaver. So Pip just looks ridiculous sitting in this chair.
You have to. It's like you're sitting on a table, if that makes sense. So you have to hop off a table.
So she sort of gently slides herself to the floor to the best of her ability with her slightly stiff wing. She does what would be a sort of a bat's bow, which is
you cross your wings over your chest and you do bow.
Yeah, she can't do it with both arms, but she sort of with her left wing, which is still good. She sort of gives a slightly slightly pompous bow and says, "Oh, Balthazar, it is a pleasure to meet you. I am Pipistrel, messenger of Odoke." And she, because it's Pip and she's very proud, she takes out her little Messengers Guild badge and shows it to Balthazar.
Does Balthazar know that this is a Messengers Guild badge?
Nope.
He doesn't. Okay.
So to describe for you and the audience, Pipistrel, you take out a silver disc of gleaming metal that you keep very polished to keep any tarnish off of, and it has a crescent moon embossed in it with little stars all around the edge. On the back of that, which can't be seen because you're holding it to show the moon, is engraved your name, Pipistrel, and any other names you want to be recognized by as well. So what would you classify as your full name?
I think, given her parents' profession, she would be Pipistrel Silkenworm. Because her parents are both they're both tailors. They both work in Odoke as cloth makers. They made her flight suit, and because Odoke is a massive trading city, they have a lot of international visitors as well. So during the spring, when birds appear from all over the world, not just obviously native to Scotland and the UK. A lot of them bring fine goods, and some of them bring things like silkworms and stuff like that. So Pip's parents, young and foolish as they were, decided to set up a tailor's shop. So they became clothes makers. So Pip's parents are both sort of Odoak residents. They've lived there their whole lives. They haven't travelled very far, and Pip has always not rebelled, but has wanted to see more.
Yeah, so you're Pipistrel Silkworm.
Yeah.
Pipistrel Silkworm. And you also have the number 0728. You are the 728th member of the Moon Messengers Guild.
Yes.
On the badge as well, but it is a gleaming silver disc in the warm light. Because I'll say that like the Badger Fortress has like windows, so you've got warm daylight coming in, morning light as well. For you, Pipistrel, it's actually quite late.
Yes.
Though your sleep has been somewhat distressed and messed up. It's like you've got jet lag because you've kind of been coming in and coming out as you've been resting, so I'd say it feels like afternoon for you, and you have the symbol and its silvery disc, and it gleams. It's probably the shiniest, prettiest thing you have ever seen, next to a certain thing that you have also seen.
Well, I've heard about. I don't think I've seen. Balthazar, when she presents the disc, he actually kind of like starts, like his eyes, his weird horizontal pupils do like what cat pupils. How do you say that word? Am I saying it right? No. The word pupil. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, pupil's right.
Yeah, you're saying.
It sounds weird in my mouth. Okay.
Yeah.
But it like dilates. It's like if you the way that cats do, but it's weird because it's happening horizontally. And he kind of like glances over at Limnal. Is Limnal reacting to the disc?
Limnal is not reacting at all. Other than like, ooh, a shiny disc.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he kind of like takes a cue from Limnal a little bit and kind of like he just like he doesn't know what Pipistrel is doing, and he's just like that is a very fine symbol indeed.
Pip, gratified, even though she's like, oh, okay, like she's like, oh, thank you. She's so new to this. She's just really excited to be part of the Messengers Guild.
So as you are saying this, the foreman kind of what's the word, rumbles over and says, "Yes, well, Pipistrel, this will be your guide through the forest. This is, as has been introduced, Balthazar, and you shall be able to make your way back to Odoak, and we shall furnish you with some supplies as a thank you for your services."
Pip smiles, little sort of little toothy bat smile, and says, Mr. Foreman, that's wonderful, and thank you very much. And she sort of wanders over to him and extends her good hand, her little tiny good hand.
So you kind of wander around the side of the desk, which is probably as tall as you, and then reach your arm up, and the beaver gives you a look. Because you're nosy, make a cunning roll.
Ooh.
To see if you can spot anything on his desk.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me to do that, because I wanted to do that.
This is a Pipistrel thing.
This is
genuinely, you were going to give him a handshake and say thank you, but also...
yes!
A 9. Delicious. You spot all sorts of missives and work orders on the desk. You see orders for iron, for gears and constructions. They seem to be making... There's the patterns for buildings, which look very distinctly different to the beaver dams you've seen from the inside and from the outside. Because you've flown over a beaver dam once or twice. But it seems like they're planning interesting work here. But then you have a quick handshake with the beaver, who kind of pretty much envelops the entirety of your wing carefully in his paw. Kind of shakes. Yes. Huh. And I would say, with that, we might start to call this session to a close, or this chapter, because it is 3:00 and I am so hungry.
Oh god, it's
Well, can we like set out on our journey and end it there? Or do you want to end it like
I think what we'll do is, because we were meant to set out, but it was just so exciting. What we'll do is we will over like a private chat just quickly establish what you guys want to do and start next session with you like walking out of Odoke.
Okie dokie. Or out of Bramble.
I was going to say Odie Dokie. Oh god, yes, out of Bramble. Yeah, Bramble down.
Oh, Brian,
Not
you need to go
Odoke.
get some food, honey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was very exciting. Thank you to everyone for coming along and listening to us ramble about little beasties. I love it.
It was exciting if you were riveted by Toads talking about
God.
like battle.
if you are riveted by toads.
If you are riveted by Toads, yes, thank you.
Apparently, a Toad's croak thing is called a voice bag.
A voice bag. I
Voice
guess that
bag.
makes sense. Sure. That's something new that I've learned today, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We are learning
That
about
and
toads.
knots. The fact that a group of toads is called a knot makes
Wait,
me
vocal
very
sack.
happy.
It's not a vocal sack. Someone was memeing it, and they called it a voice bag. No, it's a vocal sack. But yes.
That makes sense too.
Yeah.
Both are good. Both are valid.
But calling any part of your body like a sack is.
It's comical.
I think I'm gonna come up with like an in-universe
A toad
thing that
word
they
for
called.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you wouldn't call. Yeah, I'll come up with something.
Like the equivalent of like stomach and tummy.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
tummy equivalent is what.
So
I'll
yeah,
come up
please
with.
everyone, if you can, like and subscribe to the Dungeons on a Dime channel. This is the first episode, only the first of the Roll20 Spotlight. We don't have a planned amount. We're just going to keep going with this. So next Wednesday at 12:30, we're going to be doing Chapter 2 of Beast Fables.
And next game, we're also doing moral bearings, right?
Yeah, we're going to be bringing in lots of bearings. We've been doing a little kind of tease of like how scenes will be working, but we're going to be bringing some exciting stuff as you start to explore out into the wilderness of the Bristle Forest.
I'm really excited. And like the more we get into this campaign, we have got like this huge Google document of all the world building stuff that we've been adding, and I can't wait to get into some of the nitty-gritty of the world and the story and how everything works, basically.
I also, personal goal, I want to draw an entire size chart of all the beasts that we encounter, like scaled next to each other in the style of like this mouse-drawn stuff.
Yes.
Perfect.
I do actually. I did have a little size guide, a very quick one that I did a couple of weeks ago. But I do want to expand on that just because it was really fun, and some of my favorite interactions I can tell already in this campaign are going to be Pip and Balthy as small creatures, like interacting not with dangerous creatures, but just with with other beavers and like crows and badgers and things. because the size difference, I think, just is just so funny.
Yeah, I'm just excited for my spread of D4 foolish and D12 heroic interacting with a large creature.
Yeah, and there is a link. If you want to try out, make a Roll20 account, all that, just go to the link that is in the description of this video, which is, if I'm correct, which I have around, is roll20.net/start/DOAD. And then you can make a free Roll20 account. You can get this character sheet. It's live on Roll20, and exciting news is we'll be bringing the entirety of the rules of Adventures on a Dime native to Roll20 for free, so it's very easy to use. Glossary and all, looking really cool. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that. That's coming later in July. I have a lot of other really cool Roll20 projects coming as well. The illustrator Fraser Robertson and myself will be making some awesome character mini packs that will be going live on the marketplace, and there's going to be more content to come as well. And we also have some fantastic illustrators who will be playing with us today. So yeah, I'm Brian and I run Dungeons on a Dime. Fair. Please tell us all about you and how great you are.
Oh yeah.
That's a
A total
lot.
truth.
Yeah. Yeah. So I am Ver. I'm an illustrator / freelance comic artist, I suppose. You can find myself and my art on social media. Under for Twitter, it's Verface. For Tumblr, yes, I use Tumblr. It's Sticks and Sharks. And you can also find me on Patreon at Verface, where I have been posting quite a few doodles of Balthazar and Pipistrel. And including a picture of Balthazar with a little flower on his head that makes him look like a little wizard.
Oh my god.
Which if that doesn't convince you to join my Patreon, I don't know what will. I think, when it comes to my info, that's about it. Thank you very much for having me, Brian, for this game. And
No
I'm
problem.
excited for Chapter 2, where we get to actually go out and see the world.
So, I have a Patreon, which is DOAD. Your Patreon is there?
Verfaci. It's Verface, so my name and the word face, as in the thing that I have at the front of my head.
Yeah.
Only you have one.
Yeah.
Nobody else has a face, just Ver.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And last but not least, Atlanta, who did the gorgeous illustration for today's chapter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I did. I did today's thumbnail, which was really fun. I'm Atlanta, also known as Alpaca Scribbles on most media. You can find me on Instagram mostly at alpaca_scribbles. You can find me on Twitter at alpaca scribbles. You can also find me on Patreon again at alpaca scribbles, where I have been posting a lot of doodlies from this sort of setting up this campaign and from the previous campaign we played, but just all my general work. If you like D&D, if you like other fantasy stuff, then yeah. I don't know what else to say. I'm really looking forward to. I'm going to be drawing these
We'll get
two
better at this.
all the time. Yeah, we'll get better at this. We're
Yeah.
still learning.
What I think we might do is like a really cool intro that's like really short and sweet, and it's like, yeah, welcome. My name is Brian. I do stuff, blah. And then
we
I'll
all
have
rap.
Yeah, and we all rap. And then I'll do a really cool outro. And what we'll do is when we stream live, it'll be us bambling like, and then I'll just cut it out and stick in a really cool, neat thing for the end.
Yeah, that makes us
but
sound
like-
a lot cooler than we actually are.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you guys so much for joining today. It has been unbelievably fun. Thanks for Rottony for sponsoring the stream, and we will catch you next Wednesday at 12:30.
Indeed.
See you
See
guys
everybody
next
then.
Wednesday.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Awesome. We